Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, February 16th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and we begin tonight with some good news when it comes to vaccines in the county. After having to close the Petco Park super site the past few days due to a lack of supply, the county now says it can reopen. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says Governor Gavin Newsom is also optimistic that with numbers trending the right way, more restrictions could soon be lifted.
This is a site that is replicated in Northern California, and I have great expectation you're going to be seeing more and more of these all throughout the state in the coming weeks.
Today, Governor Newsom was in East Los Angeles, where a new FEMA-supported vaccination site is opening.
This is a big deal to open up this site on the east side of Los Angeles in a community that has been disproportionately impacted by COVID.
This new location is on the campus of Cal State Los Angeles. The governor says its opening comes at a time when the state's COVID-19 case positivity rate is falling, and so are hospital admissions.
2 weeks, 39% reduction in the number of people hospitalized, 32% reduction in the number of people in our ICUs. We have seen vaccination rate increase.
But vaccine supply still remains an issue, and Newsom says California's allocations are only slightly increasing, going from 1.2 million doses received this week to 1.3 million next week.
Here's the constraint: manufactured supply. There's simply not enough doses being manufactured from Moderna and Pfizer.
In San Diego, the Petco Park vaccination superstation is set to reopen tomorrow after a missed shipment of Moderna doses stopped operations there. Other county superstations have remained open and are taking appointments online. San Diego fire rescue officials say they have vaccination appointments available for seniors this week. Teams are in Balboa Park and at the Malcolm X Library delivering doses. Newsom said last week a deal to reopen schools was close, and today he said negotiations are continuing.
I want to get our schools reopened. Let me repeat that. We need to get our schools safely reopened for kindergarten to 6th grade. We can do that safely. We put out a framework, we put out a plan, we put up $6.6 billion for the legislature to consider for an early action. We are making progress, and it is stubborn, the negotiation.
The governor says as early as tomorrow, there could be more information about the Golden State stimulus program.
To get cash in the hands of millions of Californians.
That proposal would bring $600 checks to roughly 4 million low-income residents. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And we have more information at kpbs.org. You just click on the vaccines tab on our homepage and you'll find a searchable map with clinic locations and links to make an appointment if you're eligible. Congress is turning its focus to President Joe Biden's nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill. The question now is, should the bill be all-inclusive or a slimmed-down version to get bipartisan support? Nadia Romero has the latest from Washington.
I feel like jumping right now, celebrating.
Vaccine victory. COVID-19 vaccines spreading across the country, but still a shortage of supply.
Eventually, as supply increases, more than 40,000 pharmacy locations nationwide will be providing COVID-19 vaccines.
The Biden administration pushing a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill, including billions of dollars for vaccines and distribution. But time is running out for millions of Americans on other benefits.
A lot of the current relief will expire in the middle of March, including the extended unemployment insurance benefits. But we know that we won't have beaten the pandemic by the middle of March. So we are going to rush to get this done, to help deploy more vaccine, to help get kids back into school safely, and to provide the other important benefits in this rescue package.
Disagreement amongst Democrats over the $15 federal minimum wage, $1,400 checks to eligible Americans, and a lack of bipartisan support on stimulus checks.
You could have a family with 3 kids making almost $300,000 a year getting a check, and many of these people have had no impact from COVID. In fact, some are doing quite well. Others are struggling. Let's focus on those who are struggling.
While Congress works on COVID relief, some Americans wait in long lines to get a vaccine that doesn't arrive.
This is ridiculous. I mean, there's people who are a lot older than me, and I'm having a hard time getting one. I can imagine what it is for them.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, KPBS News.
3 sailors aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt are currently isolating after testing positive for coronavirus. The U.S. Navy says the sailors are asymptomatic and all close contacts are also being quarantined. These new infections follow an outbreak aboard the San Diego-based ship last year when more than 1,000 crew members were infected. A Department of Defense investigation blamed leadership for the outbreak, saying sailors were released from quarantine too soon. A federal judge in Northern California has blocked a Trump-era rule that tried to limit the number of Central Americans seeking asylum in the U.S. It barred migrants who traveled through third countries from seeking asylum. The judge said the rule deprived migrants of safeguards to avoid arbitrary denials of asylum and increased their risk of being subjected to violence. That policy had been finalized the day before President Biden's inauguration. California farmers are running out of insurance options as wildfires become more destructive. iNewsSource investigative reporter Camille Von Canal explains how a San Diego County rancher's case sparked a statewide effort to get farmers the help they need.
Nathan Rakove owns a 30-acre ranch in Alpine with ducks, chicken, pigs, and sheep. The animals graze on the brush to lower fire risk, but that hasn't helped him find insurance.
We'd like to think that the system's going to work and they're going to come up with ways to give us credit for doing mitigation. You know, at this point, for the most part, insurance companies have just redlined certain zip codes.
Rakove uses California's last resort bare bones insurance, the FAIR plan, for his house. But when he tried to add a tractor to the policy last year, he got a rejection letter. Turns out state law forbids the FAIR plan from covering farm risks. The letter surprised the California Farm Bureau Federation. The group is now working with insurance companies and state senators Ben Waso and Tony Atkins from San Diego on a possible fix for Rakove and other farmers. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Camille Von Canal.
iNewsSource is an independent, nonprofit partner of KPBS. Neighbors in Kensington stopped city crews from cutting down pepper trees they say are historic, at least for today. People who live in Marlborough Drive have been fighting for years to save the trees, which are more than 100 years old. They've filed for a temporary restraining order, tried to get them designated as historic trees, and even appealed to city boards. The city says the trees are decaying and at risk for falling, but not all neighbors believe that.
They haven't provided any data, any measurements, anything to say these trees are, deteriorated to the point of being a liability.
This morning, Council member Sean Elo Rivera, who represents Kensington, came out to hear from the community. Neighbors say they'll keep fighting and stand guard as long as it takes. A new seed library in City Heights is lending out native plants and flowers to city dwellers. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us about how the people behind it are looking to kick off a movement.
Zubin Eggleston, a member of Carpenter's Local 619, shows off the new addition to his front yard in the Azalea Park neighborhood of City Heights.
My house is right here next to the Manzanita gathering place, and one of the people from the neighborhood approached me about possibly putting a seed library on the fence of my property. And I said, sure, and I know a halfway decent carpenter that could build it for you as well.
The idea that Eggleston was putting form to was that neighbors in the area could come and pick up native seeds to plant in their own yards, just like taking a book from the library. And after their plants blossom, harvesting those seeds and bringing them back to the seed library. Anahi Mendez was part of a group being trained by the San Diego Audubon Society that came up with the idea for the seed libraries.
What would be something that would engage people with native plants, that make it learn about them, appreciate them, see all the benefits that they can bring to us? We thought that it would be a good idea to have a native seed library where it focuses only on natives That way, people on the community could take advantage of those seeds, and they will start doing landscaping programs, projects in their houses, and that way they will start learning about natives and their local environment.
Mendez and her group then teamed up with San Diego Canyonlands to center their efforts on the city's canyons. Kendra Hickson is San Diego Canyonlands Outreach Program Coordinator.
City Heights has 4 urban canyons, and we're standing right in front of Manzanita Canyon, and all of the canyons are surrounded by homes, and all those homes have gardens. However, most of those gardens do not include native plants, and native plants are important because they provide shelter for our native insects and animals. They provide food. They're perfectly adapted for our climate. So they are the plants that belong here.
But native plant seeds are not as popular as other garden staples. So the Seed Library is helping to bridge that gap for the community. The Audubon Society's Andrew Meyer says that by focusing on areas near canyons, the project will help keep San Diego's original habitat somewhat intact and help some wildlife that call those canyons home visit the neighborhood's backyards.
Places like this in Manzanita Canyon, our urban canyons in San Diego, are fantastic. They're full of birds, they're full of native plants, they're full of insects. Anybody who walks through that sees all of the life that's going on there. And some native planting, free seeds, just like this library provides, has a chance for our communities to expand that value of those things. So bring Manzanita Canyon out into the communities around City Heights and around the canyons.
The groups behind the original Seed Library are already planning for others in San Diego, as the library has already had to be restocked with native seeds. Eggleston, the union carpenter, hopes that his coworkers will be a part of that, building custom-made seed libraries across the city. Max Adler, KPBS News.
Nearly 3/4 of the country is covered in snow. A surge of Arctic air across the plains and into the south is breaking hundreds of low-temperature records and wreaking havoc on electrical grids. As Steve Nannis reports, more than 4 million people in Texas alone are in the dark and in the cold.
From the Pacific Northwest to the New Mexican deserts, from the Central Plains to the Gulf Coast, a surge of Arctic air plunging more than half of the country into a deep freeze.
We've just been trying to make it through, stay warm, and just stay in the house.
Over the past week, nearly 2,000 cold temperature records have been shattered.
I think the last I looked, it was -3.
The frigid temperatures knocking out utilities and cell service to millions.
The current conditions continue to be dire as pertains the power.
In Texas, residents acclimated to much milder weather are struggling to conserve power and water as they dig out from snow and ice left by a powerful winter storm.
We've tried to lower the thermostat as much as possible to help meet the energy demands in the area.
Officials there warning it could be days before the power's back on, as they urge caution amongst residents trying to stay warm.
The second biggest challenge that could be really a crisis within the crisis is the carbon monoxide poisoning.
The massive storm also pummeling the Midwest and the South, dumping snow and ice, and spawning deadly tornadoes in North Carolina. Nearly 200 million Americans remain under winter weather alerts as the destructive system now moves into the Northeast.
We're obviously closely monitoring the forecast to make sure that we have the right resources at the right place.
Steve Nannis, KPBS News.
And here we've seen some sprinkles here and there, but San Diego appears to be on track to have one of the driest Februaries in nearly 170 years. The National Weather Service says weather patterns are causing most big winter storms to track away from Southern California. Meteorologist Mark Mancuso has your forecast.
Dry weather returns, and we'll see some gusty winds here the next couple of days. The flow turning weakly offshore, so the winds won't be nearly as strong. Temperatures, they'll start to slowly warm as we take you through the week, but another strong disturbance swings down from the northwest over the weekend. That will bring us some cooler conditions Saturday and some strong gusty winds, but precipitation is going to be hard to come by. Forecast temperatures tonight down to 50 in San Diego. Oceanside cooling down to 41. Ramona's down to freezing, a little chilly. El Cajon's at 42 and Mount Laguna at 34 degrees. Here's our Wednesday weather. Well, we'll be looking at Some dry conditions, some gusty winds out of the north, and temperatures will be mild. Forecast high 65 San Diego, Oceanside 63. Ramona warms up to 64, and we'll see a high of 69 El Cajon. Borrego Springs hits 70, and Campo 58. Thursday, well, looks like some rather quiet weather here. It's going to be a little cool from the mountains into the deserts, but we'll be quite comfortable here. Here's a look at our forecast next few days. Plenty of sunshine with us. Thursday, we're up to 69. A little cooler as we take you into the weekend with that system moving through. Inland sections warming up to the 70s on Thursday and Friday. Then just a little bit cooler Saturday, some more clouds around. Mountain areas, well, you can see it's a little chilly into Thursday, but Friday looks nice, and then the winds kick in that system over the weekend and then turning cooler. And here in the deserts, well, it's dry. The temperature is a little cool into Thursday, but it does warm up nicely, and then it starts to cool off maybe a little bit later on Sunday into Monday. But it looks nice. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Homeowners with federally backed loans will be getting an extension on a foreclosure moratorium. The Biden administration is offering the relief to millions until the end of June. It also extends the window for homeowners with federally backed loans to ask for a mortgage forbearance, which allows them to defer or reduce payments. Many of the COVID-19 protections were set to expire next month, putting many in jeopardy of losing their homes. The administration says more help for homeowners is needed, especially those with private lenders. This is the first full week of tax season, and there are a few changes this year. The IRS says it's working to make sure you get your refund and any remaining stimulus payments quickly. Mandy Gaither has 3 things you should know before you file.
How will the pandemic impact your taxes? For taxpayers hoping for deductions, credits, and COVID-19 relief on their 2020 contributions, experts say file early.
Last year was a big year, and they're just trying to gather all their documents. So I always say, if you do have a business, make sure that from the beginning you're working with a professional.
If you didn't already receive COVID relief payments from the federal government, filing your taxes will be the best way to get that money if you're eligible. The IRS expects more than 150 million returns will be filed this year and recommends you file electronically. Experts also say it's important to know when to seek professional help.
I do believe that TurboTax or those other providers will suffice, and they are very easy and very cost effective. But as soon as you have a business, rental properties, seek professional advice.
Here's a look at 3 tax breaks you may be eligible for the first time due to COVID. 1, Congress has made changes to tax benefits like the Earned Income Tax Credit, and they've created new ones to give people and small business owners some pandemic relief. 2, small business owners who received a tax-free forgiven PPP loan may still deduct the business expenses they paid for with their money. And 3, if you're self-employed, you may be eligible to claim a new sick leave and family leave tax credit that was created by the family's first Coronavirus Response Act. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And as of now, there is no indication the deadline for filing will be extended as it was last year in the pandemic. So plan on filing by April 15th or requesting an extension. Lunar New Year is here and celebrations are underway in San Diego County. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says the 2-week festival has changed drastically this year due to the pandemic, including the city's Convoy district.
The Lunar New Year typically falls between January 20th and February 21st, and it's celebrated around the world. Festivities for the holiday kicked off on February 12th to celebrate the Year of the Ox. But Lauren Garces, who works with both the Asian Business Association of San Diego and the Convoy District, says the pandemic is holding back full-scale celebrations across the county.
I know that the organizations, the way they've adapted, we're having a lot of virtual Lunar New Year celebrations. So you'll see live streams of the performances. They'll talk about the different food, educate people on the different traditions that families have. And so that's how it's going to look this year. That's how it's a little bit different.
There has also been a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans during the pandemic. Councilmember Chris Cate says that's further impacting businesses like those in the Convoy District.
COVID-19, when it was just first starting, when a lot of people were were scared for whatever reason, but they turned that fear into really hate, and that's something that we were trying to avoid. And now we're seeing that again, and having it at a time when this time of year is really a celebration.
Annual festivities for Lunar New Year usually include cleaning, cleansing, hanging banners, food preparation, and traveling home to spend time with loved ones. But with COVID-19 still raging across the globe, Garza says she hopes people continue to support local businesses.
If we keep forgetting to support them, then these businesses may not exist going forward. We have seen some small businesses in the neighborhood close down, unfortunately, just due to so many challenges that they're having to go through.
Garces says the Year of the Ox is built on determination, honesty, and resilience, traits she anticipates people will look to for hope during the COVID-19 pandemic. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Normally, New Orleans would be packed right now with people coming from all over to celebrate Mardi Gras. Just take a look at these videos showing what a difference 1 year makes. In the first, you're going to see Bourbon Street on last Fat Tuesday, and now this year, the same area looks like a ghost town. The city closed its famous street and bars all along it to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And instead of a parade, people are decorating their homes like floats so that others can drive by and snap photos. What makes culture? That's the question posed in a new KPBS podcast. The Parker Edison Project dives deep into what shapes American culture. And I spoke with San Diego musician and artist Parker Edison about how this project connects the San Diego community.
What comes to mind when you think of American culture? Apple pie, bumper stickers, Hulk Hogan.
That's Parker Edison. He's host and co-creator of the Parker Edison Project, a new podcast that takes an intimate look at the meaning of American culture.
And I'm specifically looking at it through the Black lens, because that's my lens.
Edison says it's a cultural sound experience.
I want people to see how cool my city is. We have superpowers. Like we're so skilled at so many different things, and we do it so nonchalantly. So ultimately, I want the whole world to be like, oh yeah, San Diego. Bounce. Yeah. There's so many of us. It feels like a little city, but there's 4 million people here. And so we are incredibly spread out, and we're incredibly cliquish. And so this series lets us meet each other, and each episode, in fact, taps into a different part of the city. I think first episode takes place in North Park, and the second episode happens in Southeast San Diego.
Each episode explores topics related to food, customs, money, religion, sex, movies, and fashion. Episode 1, titled Women on Film, guest LaTanya Lockett talks about the symbolism of hoop earrings.
Yeah, hoops are savage. I'll wear them just as anything. I don't have to be going somewhere. I'll have a t-shirt and jeans on and put some big old hoops on. I want it to be the statement of my outfit. But, you know, they're trying to tame us.
Edison is part of the fabric of San Diego's creative world. A TEDx speaker, a member of award-winning rap group Parker Meridian, and in 2016, he won a local Peacemaker Award from the National Conflict Resolution Center for producing the Reclaiming the Community music project, which showcases storytellers of Southeast San Diego.
Journalist and capo, good guy, but I saw.
Adversity, he says, is a shared struggle among us, and learning how people find creative solutions is inspiring, bringing people together. In episode 3, artist Orange Space talks about how he overcame a speech impediment with music.
It definitely helped me understand why I stuttered, and it definitely helped me understand like how it works, and so I think with that it allows me to be more patient with myself and to understand, you know, why it's happening.
You know, when you hear these stories, it lets people have that experience in their car or on a run. You know, they're able to hear what happened to this person and relate to the adversity because we share the same problems, but they get to also see that triumph and how it happened for somebody else.
Edison thinks now is the perfect time to talk about local events that may have been glossed over the last 20 years. This show, he says, allows him to put them into context.
And be like, hey, were you here for this? Oh, you were? Oh, do you remember this? Did you talk to this person about it? And we get to kind of see the web And again, how big it is and how much happened in this little concentrated area.
Edison says this show is unique in that it comes from a grassroots level and has local guests and stories never heard before.
Again, even I'm getting to meet people that are behind movements that shaped my life. I'm learning and I get to meet these people, so I'm getting to watch it too. And so it's just the perfect time. And it's just the thing that I kind of always hope to turn on the TV or turn on the radio and find. That excites me.
The first season of the Parker Edison podcast has 10 episodes released every 2 weeks.
And the Parker Edison project is funded in part by the KPBS Explore Local Program Fund. You can subscribe to the series now by visiting kpbs.org/Parker Edison. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, a look back at the life and legacy of Turnell Price, one of the founding members of San Diego's Black Panther Party, who recently passed away. And on Midday Edition, a California task force studies reparations, how that effort could help African Americans. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.